Hello and welcome to another Office Hours hosted by myself, David Ciccarelli, the CEO and co-founder of Voices. And Office Hours is our monthly event here on YouTube Live. We're on the last Friday of every month. We give opportunity for all of us to get together. It happens as I say, the last Friday of every month at 4 o'clock Eastern or 1 o'clock Pacific. And Office Hours, for those who don't know, is an opportunity for you to ask career-related questions directly to the people who work at Voices, including myself and Andrew, our community manager. And I think we've had some other folks stop by as well, too. Now, usually the questions are around getting started as a voice actor, perhaps as an audio producer, an engineer. And we try to answer some of those technical questions, specifically, setting up your home studio, microphone technique. We even cover some more of the business related questions like setting your own rates, quoting on client projects, how to interact with clients online through a freelance marketplace like voices.com. So if you've missed those Office Hours in the past, please check out those previous episodes, which you can find right here on the YouTube channel. Today, however, we're going to be talking about the future of work, specifically the future of freelancing. So if you have some of those questions in mind about the future of freelancing, feel free to throw it in the chat on the sidebar of YouTube, and I'll do my best to answer those in real time. Now, we've also put this call out for questions actually on Instagram and Twitter previously, so there's a few that have rolled in, and I'll try to answer those. But one of the ones that kind of just jumps off, off the top is really around kind of how you should best prepare for the future of work in the freelance industry. And what I'm referring to is, whether you call it a side gig or a side hustle or really just freelancing, that's really what we're going to be covering today. Now, for those who might not realize really how many people are out there freelancing themselves, here are kind of a couple stats for you to consider. 40% of all small businesses in the US and a third of Fortune 500 companies, the 500 largest organizations in the United States, are actually already working with freelance to complete projects and outsource work. So that's kind of the buyers and the employer perspective. Then you look at the employees themselves or the freelance. How big is this freelance economy? And in fact, about a third of the American workforce is certainly freelancing. Right now, there's approximately 57 million Americans in the freelance economy. Now, collectively, they're earning $1.2 trillion of the US economy is actually made up of the freelancing work that's out there. Now, of course, there's creative work, there's technical work, there's administrative work. And we can certainly kind of get into that. But I wanted to kind of just tee that up, just, size it up of how big of a space this is. And let's kind of get into some of those questions right now. So what should you do to prepare for the future of work in the freelance industry? First off, know what your skills are and what you're really great at. There's lots of online assessments or tools. I'm thinking of StrengthsFinder or, Myers-Briggs type of personality assessments, or even the Working Genius, which is a workplace assessment by Patrick Lencioni. These type of assessments are going to be great for you just to try, start that career journey and freelancing journey about where am I strong and what do I also enjoy doing. That's going to be kind of your best approach right off the bat. You might think that you want to do something. Desire is a good place to be, but also some of those assessments might be helpful. The other thing you can look at is where have you actually been successful in the past? I think that's also a great indication if you've been hired for freelance work before. Could be graphic design, it could be translation, it could be editing some audio or mixing it into under a voiceover, or even doing voiceovers yourself. Look at what you have a track record of success. So kind of combining desire, your existing skills, and your track record of success, where you've actually earned some income, that's probably going to put you on the right path. Now, there's a number of freelance marketplaces that are already out there, and you can think of a marketplace of really any online website or platform that's connecting buyers and sellers together. The buyers would be the employers, a client, maybe at a Fortune 500 company, they might be at an advertising agency, or even just a small business that needs to get some work done, that they don't have the expertise themselves. It might be really, a husband and wife team, or just a sole proprietor, or one entrepreneur who's just getting a business started. They often work with freelancers to get some expertise done, to kind of tap on that expertise that you all have watching and listening today. So a marketplace is where this kind of, commerce or commercial type activity all comes together. Now, marketplaces have the buyers, that client as I described, but they also have the freelancers themselves. Now, often you're going to be going on and creating a profile, outlining those skills where you're really good at. You're probably picking a few kind of top level categories, translation or voiceover or audio production. And then you would pick some specific skills within there where you're looking to get some work from. So once you have that profile, that's one thing that you can expect from all freelance marketplaces. Big ones being, of course, Fiverr and Upwork, and voices.com is one that kind of really caters to creative services, and even more specifically around voice and audio. Kind of audio content is where Voices is really excels. So what can you expect? Well, calling it a place to call home where you can showcase your work. You can also expect a lot of educational and career development tools, such as blogs and podcasts, and access to industry experts on those podcasts or videos like we have here on our YouTube channel. But in addition to that, and I would argue most importantly, is that freelancers want work. And so most freelance platforms or marketplaces really have a list of jobs that you can reply to. And every job is going to describe work of what that client or employer is looking to get done. It often includes a job title, a job description, a budget range of kind of what they're thinking of how much it might cost them, or really how much they have available for that particular scope of work. And then, of course, a deadline of when they're looking for that work to be done. And what you would do is actually reply to that job with a response. And that response could be, really a short cover letter of why you believe that you're the best one to fulfill that need. And often that also invite you to submit a quote of how much you believe that job is worth and you're able to do the work for. And the client would then listen or look at that response. Maybe if it's a voiceover or some audio production, you'd be submitting a sample. So they'd be listening to your sample as well, and then be hiring you through the platform. They'd be making a credit card payment, and that payment would be held in a escrow account. Basically, the payment's held in trust, and that marketplace being that trusted intermediary. So you know that you can actually do the work with the peace of mind that you're guaranteed to get paid. Once you deliver the work through the platform or that marketplace, then you would the client would listen and make sure all is good, and you'd be paid generally between kind of 7 to 14 days after the work is done and the client's satisfied with your work. So that's what you can expect from a freelance marketplace like Voices. Fiverr and Upwork operate in similar ways as well too. So I've got some questions here that I wanted to address. Quick hello to Richard as well. Thanks for joining us today, as well as KK. So KK asks, I'm just discovering a desire to start a career as a voice actor. How do I best prepare myself in that kind of environment to freelance? Well, KK, this has actually been a big transition over the last number of years for voice actors realizing that you no longer need to live in a major metropolitan area like New York or Chicago or Los Angeles. In fact, a lot of freelance work is done in, call it middle America or around the world in, cities that aren't necessarily, geographic hubs or even necessarily media and production and entertainment hubs. This kind of work, particularly around being a voice actor, can really be done from anywhere in the world. Now, of course, you're going to need a couple things to get started. And so your desire to start a career certainly couldn't happen at a better time. The first and foremost I would mention is you really do need the gift of a great voice. Now, if you don't think, most people don't even like the sound of their own voice, but you probably want to just record it so you can listen to it and realize how you can make it sound better. Now, the best way to do that is just some simple steps like reading out loud. You can read out loud and practice by just recording some voice memos on your mobile phone and reading out loud and listening back and getting comfortable with hearing your own voice. That's often a real big challenge where new and aspiring voice actors kind of are highly critical of their own capabilities. But I would encourage you to get comfortable with the sound of your own voice. Now, once you've done that to a degree and you're feeling like maybe you want a second opinion or a view from someone else, a lot of voice actors just getting into the business actually work with a coach. And we have a list of great coaches available on voices.com. So it's voices.com/coaches. And perhaps Julia can put that in the chat as well too. Quick hello to Andy for joining us. Thanks for joining us today. But working with a coach right off the bat, if your desire is to get started in voice acting, they'll definitely shape and guide you and kind of be your mentor on your career journey as well. But there's kind of this culminating event in working with the coach. And that's actually the creation of a voiceover demo. And that demo you can think of as your highlight reel, kind of 30 to 60 seconds. Usually the big three types of demos are commercials, narration, and character work. Now, commercials you can think of radio, web commercials, social media ads, that type of thing where it might be 60 seconds long, but you're hearing these short little clips from different brands or different advertisements that you will have done. Often in a demo though, KK, I'll let you know that it's their fictitious companies. They're just representative of the style and energy that you're bringing to a particular read. So that's what a coach is going to guide you to creating kind of that final deliverable in getting through that first phase of coaching. So once you have that demo, you can do a couple things with it. You can upload it to these online marketplaces like voices.com, and there's a number of other ones specifically geared for voiceover. Voice123 is another one that certainly comes to mind. And there's a handful of others, but those would probably be the biggest two. We've got great relationships with them as well. So that's what I would be looking out for in terms of starting your career. But there's no shortage of additional resources. One of the most popular podcasts at voices.com is called Mission Audition. And that's really coaches and casting directors listening to a real job and kind of talking through their feedback. If you like listening to other people and kind of learning from the highlights and mistakes of others, that Mission Audition podcast is a great show. I think we've got about 25, maybe 30 episodes, and rebooting that one as well too, so you can look forward to new episodes coming out for that particular podcast. But I just wanted to mention that those kind of a couple things just before we move on. You can definitely do voice acting from anywhere in the world. You need that demo as your kind of marketing collateral at the outset. But really, once you get going, you're probably going to want to set up some type of home recording studio. This could be in a spare bedroom. It could be in a closet. You eventually probably want to build out your own home studio. But really, the studio kind of has a couple key components. You need recording software, which if you're using a Mac, that comes with GarageBand. You can download Audacity for free, or you can get something more professional like Adobe Audition. Those are some great pieces of software for recording your voice. You're also going to need a microphone. Now, most people start off with a USB microphone that just simply plugs into the back of your computer or your laptop, so you can get your voice recorded and captured into the software. Arguably, I would say the most important component of that home recording studio, though, KK, when you're talking about developing your career, would actually be surprisingly having a quiet room. I'm a terrible example of this right now because I'm actually in a glass, and therefore I need to lean in really close to the microphone to make it sound kind of quiet and really, intimate and really really kind of present, if you will. But in other situations, if you're recording for a client in work, and it's much more of a professional production that you're working on, then I would absolutely recommend insulating or providing some type of soundproofing. A lot of people just start off by putting up blankets and then maybe some foam and kind of evolves from there. But that's probably a great topic that you could Google, how to soundproof your home recording studio. Hopefully you land on an article on from voices.com. We got a few there as well. All right, so KK, hopefully that's a couple quick tips on how to get started. And thanks for joining us today. And if you've got other ones, just throw them in the chat. We'll do our best to answer those. All right, so I see a question from Carrie Grace. Thanks so much for joining us here today. And also, your question is, how can I find jobs as a guest? Until I make some money, I can't commit to the paid version. Do you have any tips? So, Carrie, let me just share with those also viewing today what a guest. So, on voices.com, there's a number of tiers of membership. The first one is what we call guest. It's completely free. You are signing up where you can upload a sample recording of your voice, actually as many as you want, which I just described as those voiceover demos. And you can complete your profile, which is really all the text-based information about who you are, perhaps what's in your recording studio. Maybe you've landed a couple gigs in the past and you want to list those out. Often people will describe their education and kind of other work experience background that's relevant. So you definitely want to put all of that in your profile. And so that's actually my first tip for you. You can indeed get work as a guest voice talent by filling out your profile. You're actually going to be showing up in the search results. Our search results require you to have a sample voiceover demo or an audio demo, kind of a sample of your portfolio of work. And so until you have that demo, you're not going to show up in search. So make sure you have a couple of those sample demos recorded and uploaded, and then you'll start showing up in the search results. We also have this whole discover, what we call kind of more of a browsing experience. If you go to voices.com off the top, you'll see there's some kind of quick links in the navigation where you can look at things like voice talent or translators or audio production. And that's kind of this browsing experience. You can also be showcased there if you have that sample recording, that demo as I'm referring to. So as a guest member, you really are in, dare I say, kind of this wait and see mode. And that's often the difference between the guest account and the paid version, which is what we call premium. In premium, you can reply to all of the job opportunities that come through voices.com. At this point, there's about 5,000 jobs. Most of them are in voiceover, but there's definitely opportunity in these new categories, as I mentioned, around audio production, translation, and music. And so that's really, we have the ability to reply to those jobs for premium members. Now, I mentioned the tip about having a complete profile. One of the things that we're contemplating is, hey, is there an easier way that maybe for somebody who's new or aspiring and looking to get into the industry, is there perhaps a more economical membership tier that can kind of ease your way in to ultimately being successful with a premium membership on voices.com. So we're thinking about that, Carrie. If that sounds like it'd be of interest to you, a more economical way to be able to reply to those jobs and kind of elevate your status and visibility on the platform, just let us know, and then we'll make sure that that's included in the chat as well too. Okay, we've got M Pepe Off Duty from Instagram is asking, what's the first thing one should do if he or she wants to do freelance work? So the one thing you should do is I'm going to say, out of all of the various categories and skills that you possibly could do, my recommendation would be to pick the one skill that you're really good at, that you could almost become known for. And so, if you are a graphic designer, you want to be known as a designer, kind of the go-to person for all things graphic designer. Even if it's audio editing, you want to be doing editing to the best of your ability. You've probably heard about the 10,000 hour rule. Now, this was popularized by Malcolm Gladwell, prolific author, kind of deep thinker, who described that really anyone can become an expert level in their field of choice if they're willing to spend 10,000 hours of effort. Now, what does that equate to practically? It's basically 5 years of effort focused on exceeding in that particular area. So that means you can't be kind of this expert in all of these different areas. You're probably going to be better off picking one. Think of traditional career paths. People want to be, expert in maybe investigative journalism, or maybe, a surgeon, or maybe somebody doing some kind of deep research on AI or some medical, health sciences. They're experts because they've invested so much time. And likewise, I think we can take a page out of that and apply that to freelance work, where the best freelancers are really going all in. They view it as a career, not merely a side hustle, but as a career. So I think the best thing that you can do off the bat is, start whittling down from all of the things that you could do to the one that you want to be known as an expert at. All right. Thanks Off Duty, for asking that. Good stuff. Okay. So Karuna from Instagram also is asking about getting a job on Voices without a premium membership. Kind of just touched on that, but again, I'll just emphasize, the more information that you have on your profile and the more samples that you have uploaded. So if you're going to, commit saying voiceover is what I want to do, it's what I want to excel in, I have a background in that, or I have a sincere interest, and that's where you'd want to upload more samples. Now, I'll explain why that's actually relevant. Our system is just that. It's a computer system. It's only as smart as the information that's available. We can only search samples and profiles that are actually complete and available, to be searched. And so if you don't fill out your profile and there's no samples attached, we're unable to invite you to jobs and showcase you in those search results as I described. So that's really the best way, especially when you're going through the languages and accents and various what we call tags or kind of attributes. The more specific you can be there, then you're more likely to be served up for a search where there isn't a lot of other, dare I say, competition. So if you can perform a language, and we giving you a bit of inside scoop, we sometimes even call them here at Voices like hard to find talent, hard to find languages, or hard to fulfill languages. That's often, if you speak other languages, I would highlight that. I would showcase that on voices.com.